Good morning, Mr. Blunt.
Hey, Monty, it's good to be with you. I think it's been a while since you and I have been able to talk on a Springfield, Missouri radio station, and I'm glad to be with you this morning.
Thanks very much. Right off the bat, your reaction, the Fort Hood shooting yesterday, 4 people killed, including the gunman, several injured. Before we get into kind of the specifics, your general reaction to what you heard?
Well, I think it's such a tragedy. People who are willing to serve, their families who are willing to support their service. The safest place a member of the armed forces should be would be a military base in the United States. And I think anything that penetrates that feeling of safety in a military base like Fort Hood is something that's totally unacceptable, and we need to figure out what the problem is and what can be done about it. I'm on the Armed Services Committee. We've been asking that question. That question was asked at a hearing just yesterday morning what's the military doing to be sure that something like Fort Hood wouldn't happen again. And they don't have the greatest answer, and obviously they didn't have a good enough answer at Fort Hood. And beyond that, another topic I've been working on a lot, with a lot of support from veterans, particularly Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, is to be sure that people who have served have access to the kind of behavioral health and mental health treatments that they need. And we were able to get a major piece of legislation passed as a pilot project just in the last few days with the great support of veterans groups who realize there are a lot of troubled service men and women out there that need all kinds of access to help. And apparently this individual who killed others and then eventually killed himself had been seeking mental health services. And I'm going to be interested to find out how those services were available to him or not.
And, of course, you're talking about the Excellence in Mental Health Act that was passed by the Senate on Monday that you helped champion through. Does this help the cause or put more light on the cause that you're working on?
It very well might. I hate to say that anything like this tragedy is helpful, but the one thing we see in these violent tragedies, the one consistent thing, that the location may change, the group of victims may change, the weapon may be very different from the weapon somebody used before, but the one thing that's always consistent is a significant behavioral health problem, a mental health problem that hasn't been dealt with. We're at a point in our society where we need to deal with mental health like we deal with all other health issues, and we shouldn't have barriers to treatment because somebody who has health care doesn't have access, and the government, like Medicaid, normally doesn't cover mental health like it covers all other health. The VA does, veterans benefits do, but many veterans, once they've separated from the Army or the military in whatever way they serve, don't have close access to the kind of ongoing support that they need. And using our community mental health clinics in new ways and allowing federally qualified clinics like the Jordan Valley Clinic in Springfield to add behavioral health if they want to meet all the standards for a full-scale behavioral health unit could make a big difference as we're trying to deal with people. The National Institute of Health says 1 out of 4 adults has a diagnosable and treatable mental health disorder. And many of these are not costly to treat. And in fact, many times if you treat the mental health issue properly, the physical health issue is much easier to deal with.
U.S. Senator Roy Blunt joins us this morning on the new Morning Line on AM 560 KWTO. He is a member of the Armed Services Committee. Separate topic, kind of similar discussion, Mr. Senator, and that is this. The gunman reportedly had a gun that was not registered on the installation. You can have guns as long as they're registered on the installation. He somehow got onto the base with this gun. Is there something else that needs to be done to tighten restrictions for gun control on military installations?
Well, military installations, again, need to be safe, and we need to figure out what it takes to make them safe. I think there was a time when many people in the military carried their own weapons all the time, which is one way to, from a base perspective, to be sure nobody has an unfair advantage. But we should control military bases in a way that people know they're safe. One of the big problems, Monty, in service today in places like Afghanistan and Iraq is that there are no rear lines. Everywhere you are, you feel like you're in jeopardy the whole time you're there, and every place could be a place where violence could occur at any minute. And so part of the stress that comes out of that service is that you come back from those places and you've had 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, maybe 3 tours of duty, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're on edge that something might happen. We can't let that become a problem in U.S. military bases as well. This is the one place that any family member of somebody in the military should know that their family member is safe, and people in the military should know that once you drive through that gate, that it is unacceptable for anything bad to happen to you that's not a pure accident in some kind of training environment. That it's a goal that we can't not meet, and hopefully we will.
A couple of final questions for U.S. Senator Roy Blunt joins us from Washington, D.C. for a few minutes this morning. In terms of your membership on the Armed Services Committee, what happens now following Fort Hood? Do you get updated? Do you wait for a report? Do you ask questions? What's your involvement now with the committee in terms of what's happened yesterday at Fort Hood?
Well, all of the above. All of the above. I'm on both the Armed Services Committee and I'm on the Defense Appropriating Committee, so I have a double shot, if you will, a double way to look at these things, and 2 different opportunities to have the kind of update that members of Congress should insist on having at times like this, and we will.
And one final question, separate topic, and I think you and I could sit here and talk about this next topic all day and try to hash it out and come up with answers and what would be helpful. But it deals with the Corps of Engineers and Table Rock Lake, the Corps Co-op Joint Management Bill, and that deals with the outside agency, the outside foundation that wanted to help run some of the campgrounds and the beaches down on Table Rock Lake, and there was an issue with the Corps of Engineers, and they cut off ties with that group. In terms of just generally speaking, what's the status of this bill in terms of the Corps and the help that was being provided by the foundation down on Table Rock Lake to help run the facilities? Is that going to ever get fixed and happen again?
Well, I would hope so. Senator Bozeman from Northwest Arkansas, the senator from Arkansas who served in the House with me, and I are the 2 principal sponsors of that bill. What we had with the Friends of Table Rock Lake effort was truly a model project that the Corps was part and parcel, as we say in the Ozarks, of putting together. The Corps and the Department of Interior both need to understand that the way things used to run is not the way things are going to most effectively run in the future. And if you're going to break the mold, you have to be willing to truly break the mold. If you have to cast a new way to do this, remember the Table Rock Lake effort, it was campgrounds that wouldn't have been run otherwise by the Corps, had been essentially decided to be mothballed by the Corps. But a not-for-profit group came in, said, we'll manage this, and all the money that we collect, money that otherwise you would have collected and sent somewhere else, all the money that we collect will be used right here to improve these facilities that otherwise wouldn't have been used or at least wouldn't have been managed at all. And it was a common sense thing. It was working great. I had members of Congress from all over the country in at least a handful of situations call me and say, what are you doing there and how did you get it done? And so a number of other people began to pursue this. And at some point, the Corps that either believed they didn't have the ability to do what they thought they could do legislatively or just couldn't stand too much of a good thing, pulled the plug on these 2 or 3 projects that were already agreed to and ongoing in the country. And I think the first and the best one, certainly one of the first, and I believe the first was the Friends of Table Rock Lake and what they did. And hopefully this is the kind of legislation that even in a Congress that can't get anything done, that we'll be able to bring to the floor without much opposition one of these days soon and get it passed. And I know there's significant interest in the House of Representatives, Congressman Long and others who want to see these things happen where they live, to hopefully then get this done in the House as well.
U.S. Senator Roy Blunt joining us from Washington, D.C. this morning. Senator, thanks for your time. I know you have a busy schedule, but we always appreciate you coming on the show, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, it's great to be with you, and I look forward to being home soon.